The next thing we're going to do is real simple. We're going to put in the RAM. Now to put in the RAM, you probably already know how to do this anyway. Very simple. I've done many videos with putting RAM in and taking it out. But you just want to pull these tabs out. And in this configuration, only one side pulls out. Some configurations you actually have both sides where you snap them out. And then you just want to take your RAM, and you'll see here, this is DDR3 RAM, by the way, and it's each stick is 2 gigabytes. You'll notice that there's a notch in there. You just want to match that up with your motherboard. And you just want to put them in. In my case, I'm using all 4 channels here. You might only use 2 channels, whatever the case may be. Refer to your motherboard manual, and it'll tell you which channels you should be using. But in this case, since I'm using it all, it really doesn't matter what channels I use and what order I put them in. But just consult your motherboard manual if you do have any questions. Now, I've got everything matched up, and all you want to do is just push it down until the tab, there we go. You hear the snap, you know the tab is closed, and you know that it's in there nice and snug. I'm going to do this for the other 3 sticks that I have here. Snapped in nicely. 2 more to go. And my last stick of RAM. Snapped in nicely. So we're getting there. Got the RAM in, got the power supply attached to the motherboard. And might as well right now, I have a couple of little plastic covers on the logos here. Might as well pull them off right now. There we go. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to start attaching the cords to the motherboard. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach the SATA cords from the case, from the DVD drive, and from the hard drive onto the motherboard here. Now we're going to have a 4th one that we have to attach, which is going to be the SSD drive. That we're going to put in here, okay? But we're not going to do that quite yet. We're going to attach these first, and then we'll get to that. So I have 3 SATA cords down here that I'm going to attach into these ports here. Now in my case, on my motherboard here, I have 8 SATA connectors here. These in the gray ports here are the 6 gigabytes per second ports here. So what I'm going to want to do, since my SSD drive is capable of that, I'm going to plug the SSD drive in the first port, which is the top one. Alright, I figured out that this cord goes to the hard drive here. So I'm going to plug that in here on one of the 6 gigabyte per second ports here. And I'm going to plug it into the number 2 port down here. So that's the one on the bottom. I can maneuver this into place here. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's going into the gray port, second one down. And I got that in there nice and snug. The one that's going to go on the top part of the gray one will be the SSD drive. Now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to actually unplug this drive, because I'm going to start it up with only the SSD drive on it, so it won't have 2 drives, and then I'll go back in and replug it in. But for right now, we're just going to get everything situated and get everything plugged to the motherboard. Now the DVD drive is going to go into the 3rd port here, and then the eSATA on the front of the case is going to plug into the fourth one. So we're going to do the fourth one first because it's easier to get the bottom plugged in while the top one isn't plugged in yet. Let's try and maneuver this one into place here. And that one was pretty easy, plugged in. And let's go for the third one here. And there we go. That third one was the DVD drive. Okay, now the front of the case has a USB, actually two USB ports on it. And this is the connector for it. Now down in here, right above the power supply, let me see if I can get you to see that. Right here are two USB connectors. So we're just going to plug this right here into one of them. So you just got to make sure you line up the pins on it. It's a 9-pin configuration here with one of the corners actually with no pin in it. And you just got to make sure it lines up properly and plug it right in. There we go. Now this here is the audio connector. And you want to consult your manual, which I'm doing right here, for where that connector should be. Now that audio connector here is over here. Let's see if we can get you to see that. It's right over here. So I am going to install that right now. And that's so your mic and headphone jacks on the front of the bezel will work. Alright, another one plugged in. Now all I have left from the case itself are the reset, power, all those controllers here, and then the front bezel fan. I have one in the front here. So there's two fan connectors right next to the USB here, so I'm just going to reach that over as far as it will and plug it in. Alright, there we go. I plugged that in and I had to pull it out a little bit more, but it works nonetheless. Now this connector here for all your power button, your reset button, all that good stuff on the front of the bezel. Now I could use this one if I wanted to. It came with my other Asus motherboard, but I'm actually going to use the one that came with this motherboard only because there's a slight color difference in it and I want everything to match as much as possible. Which you don't necessarily have to do, but I figure why not? It's not going to take much longer. So it's going to be as easy as just matching up what was here and unplugging it here on this side and then plugging it into here. So the hard drive light right here goes into the hard drive light here. And on the other side, a couple LEDs here, unplug them, and plug it into this. Hopefully you can see this, but if you do have any question on how to do this, just consult my original video, because it will show you how to do this. It's very simple. The leads from the bezel should have little labels on them, and then you just match them up with the labels on this. And this will plug into the motherboard. And we get the power and the ground. Plug it in here. And then the reset. Plug it in here. Alright, there we go. Pulled that one out. And then this plugs in very easily into this area down here. I don't know if you can see it. Right here. Fits right into there. So I'm going to plug that in right now. Alright, there we go. So we have all the cords plugged into the motherboard. The only thing that we do need to plug in still is the graphics card. And then we're going to put the two additions on here. We're going to put the card reader on the front and the SSD drive in here. Now before we get to any of that, we're going to have to put in the new CPU. And of course a CPU cooler after that.